So last up, maybe with a glimmer of hope in this one.
I hope so.
We've heard about lots of problems and the need for change. And I think hopefully Hayley's going to talk to us about maybe a way that we could make that change happen.
I'm being directed.
Make that change happen through storytelling, I believe.
Yes.
So.
Here, all right? Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about how storytelling can be used to dismantle some of the power structures that we have to create a bit more of an equitable world, a world that's less about silos, a world that actually just reconnects us to our own humanity. And I think stories are a great way of doing that. We've always told stories. People tell stories about their lives. We come back to work after the weekend, we say what's happened at the weekend. They're a great way that we can share, that we can learn, and ultimately that we connect with each other. I believe that people's lived experience matters. I believe that when people share stories, we get a better understanding of the world from their perspective, and it creates more understanding. But experiential knowledge isn't always seen as being as good as skill-based knowledge, like how you can code something, and it's not seen as being as good as academic knowledge or research or data. But I believe that experiential knowledge is very valuable to the human race. So, story curation is a way of helping us work with experiential knowledge. And by story curation, I'm talking about the gathering, organising, understanding and presenting back of learning through stories, a little bit like Google does when it curates the web for us. I believe that then in these stories we can find out some real insights, some real learnings from other people. It can open our eyes to different things. It can help us understand what that other person might have experienced and why. If we can do this with lots of stories, we bring voices together. We bring voices together that might be different. Like you said, there's not always one vision. We can bring multiple voices and multiple perspectives together that can help challenge our own perceptions of how this world is. If we can then share that with other people, then we can start to make a change. A lot of the time, our knowledge stays within small groups and we stay in echo chambers. Story curation, in the way I see it, is about getting that knowledge out there to enable other people to work with it. So this is a project I've been involved in, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it and how we have started to try to do this little mini revolution of storytelling across Europe. So we had partners in Spain, Italy, UK, Poland, Germany, Sweden. So we started off going to another knowledge base, which was research. And we had a look what kind of things were happening about story curation and how people were doing this. We didn't find much. So then we started to try and design our own based on what we thought and what we knew. And we all deviated to trying to make a storytelling course. And it was like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to give a platform, an equitable platform for learning from stories. So what we did was designed a story curator program that taught people how to work with knowledge in people's real stories. And we trained up about 15 or so people from across Europe how to work in that way. So Italy, they went back to Italy and worked with the local council municipality there. They decided they didn't want to, they only could do a few hours. They then asked for more because they realized that it would be a great way of understanding the residents in Milan much better than they already did. Sweden, the education organisation we worked with, took it back into their organisation, worked with their team to develop how that can help student learning better, how story curation can be embedded there. UK, we went with the NHS. We worked with a team of clinicians to identify patients who would share a story that could then improve that service for this patient. So we had doctors and professionals listening to what people were saying about their own medical care. Spain used it in a therapeutic way. They used it with people with experiencing mental health illness as a way of them telling and understanding their stories and how it connected to the wider world that we were in. So what did we learn? Well, if we're going to do this, we're all going to have to do it in different ways, as you've just seen. There's not one way to create change. There's not one way to do it. We also learned that sometimes people don't want to listen, and sometimes what you have to share with them doesn't always go with what their vision of the world is. So it's a little bit of this. If you go out and do this, and you go out and advocate for voice and to listen to folk, you're seen as a disruptor. I think it's common sense, but no, that's not what we found. What we saw is that it's a challenge to these power structures. If you say we've got another knowledge base that is of the people, not of the statistics, not of what you already think you know, or what other policy you think is going to win you the next election, or whatever you're doing, it dismantles those power structures. However, if you can find people, hopefully like yourselves, who want to be a part of that in those organisations, because they're people too with experiences, then you can start to change it within. And what we hope we've done on that project, and what we're trying to keep doing, is give people that tools and that way of doing it, so that it feels a bit less scary when you're out there on your own advocating why voice and why people's lives actually matter.
Thank you very much.